Welcome back to Forum Daily News. I'm Wyatt Sharpe. Well, the crisis at the U.S. southern border is likely to play a critical role as we advance forward into the 2024 presidential election. And a former Secret Service agent and former Homeland Security advisor, Charles Marino, has written a new book entitled Terrorists at the Border and in Our Country. It's due to come out next month, and it focuses on some of these challenges. And Charles Marino joins me now. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to be with you again, Wyatt. Good to see you.
You as well. So perhaps let's just start out here because I'm very curious as to the impact that it will have on the election, but more specifically, whether or not you think the two presumptive nominees, both Joe Biden and Donald Trump, take this border crisis as seriously as people such as yourself.
Well, look, I think in the case of former President Trump, he has proven to the American people that he is able and willing to implement effective policies and use diplomacy as a part of that. Remain in Mexico, the program requiring migrants to wait until they are fully vetted and hear their claims of asylum, for example, to validate that they are in fact valid, goes to that point. But what I can tell you is the world is a lot less stable right now. And the country is a lot less safe because of the immigration and border policies that we've seen for the last 3.5 years. We have close to 15 million people now that have entered the United States. There's no way to possibly thoroughly vet them all, and they've been let in to await administrative court dates on asylum claims from 5 to 70 years out.
And I mean, how do you encourage, because it seems like on both sides, both Democrats and Republicans will comment on the issue. They have no problem commenting on the issue and, announcing and bringing up their perspective. But it seems when it comes down to actual policy, at least probably in some ways because it's early on in the campaign, they don't want to make any conclusions this early. But how do you encourage actual policy discussions during something like an election on such a complex and critical time?
Well, let me start off with what's not part of a policy decision or a policy dispute, as was claimed in the Senate yesterday regarding the proposed impeachment of DHS Secretary Ali Mayorkas. What's not part of policy development is choosing to ignore the laws of the country. That's not where policy development starts. Policy development starts based on existing laws and enforcing those laws. And then you develop the policies from there. I've been a part of developing those national security and homeland security policies in the past. I continue to be involved in them now. And that's just not what you do. It's not responsible. There needs to be accountability. And unfortunately, we did not see it yesterday. But look, if former President Trump comes back into office, he is going to have a lot of work to do, not just with Russia, Ukraine, not just with Iran, Israel, but also with the country of Mexico. Mexico has not been very collaborative with the Biden administration. And I think that, in fact, goes towards the lack of diplomatic efforts, effective diplomatic efforts by the Biden administration to help quell this crisis on the border. And let's face it, as a country, we're doing no shortage of what we call pull factors by offering money and full health care, and of course, unfettered legal entry into the country. So the Biden administration is not going to change their policies or their approach to this. They've proven both unwilling and incapable. And so we're going to continue to have the problems that we see. Look, our threat level here in the United States, Wyatt, is now 10 times higher than it was pre-September 11th, 2001. And that, in large part, is not just because of world events, which we know have a direct impact on our threat level here in the country, but because we've let millions of people into the country and we have no idea who they are.
And just lastly here, before we conclude, because you mentioned Alejandro Mayorkas, I mean, I'm curious, do you think the kind of controversy surrounding him will play a negative role for President Biden as we head into the 2024 election?
Well, we predicted that immigration, border security, and crime would become morphed together and be the #1 issue going into the 2024 election with Americans. And guess what? It is. We knew it was going to become an issue when I started working on my book, Wyatt. We didn't work on this book starting last week. This is 3 years in the making. And I'm proud to say that many of the dilemmas and consequences and results that we're seeing from this crisis, we have predicted in this book.